All right, hello everyone. I really miss coming to your classrooms, and it's really strange to be visiting you from a computer screen, and it's really strange to watch myself teach. As much as I love coming to see you, I don't usually have to watch myself do this. We are here to have some fun. Mrs. Wagner and I really miss visiting you. It's kind of strange to be at our homes. It's kind of strange not to see all of you. But we're going to get through this, and we want you to have some agriculture to fill some of your time. So today we're going to talk about something that we don't always take the time when we visit your classrooms to talk about, and that's soil management. So you hear me talk all the time about how much I love Iowa and our rich soil and how that soil helps us grow so much corn. But I've never really stopped and told you what healthy soil means or why we have this healthy soil in Iowa. So today we are going to be talking about some layers in soil. For those of you who didn't know, our soil goes deeper than just what you find under your grass. So later we're going to come back and talk about all of those different layers. You can see I have kind of a treat for later. But you're going to have an opportunity to make your own model of what this looks like. So I said we're going to take care of our soil. Our farmers do that, and that's called soil management. Now, if you saw me this month to talk about sheep, we came up with kind of a definition for the word management. And we said sheep can help manage other things. We can say that farmers manage their soil. Your teacher manages the classroom that you normally get to visit. And right now, your family might have a new job of managing some schoolwork at your house. And so if you manage something, you keep it going. You keep it functioning, you keep it working the way it should. So when we manage soil, we're working to keep it healthy and to make sure that it's going to grow crops. And there's a couple ways we can think of this. We're going to start by talking about the nutrients that are in soil and how we take care of that. Ideally, those nutrients are already there for us. But we know that as crops grow and use those nutrients and those minerals, sometimes they have to be replaced. And there's a few ways we do that. First of all, we test soil. We have to find out what's in that soil before we know what has to be added. So farmers normally in the fall dig into their soil between 6 and 10 inches deep, and they take samples of that. So in a field, you might take 20 samples in an area so that you get a good mix of your soil. And then farmers usually work with someone called an agronomist. And we haven't focused on that job, but an agronomist is a scientist who has specialized knowledge in soil health and in crop production. So what can we do for our soil to grow healthier crops? And they spend their days studying that and helping farmers to make sure they've got the healthiest soil they can have. So farmers work with their agronomist, and then they send those samples off to a lab. And that lab is going to test that and kind of pick apart the soil using a process so that they can find out what nutrients are there. Now, once we have all this information, and this can take some time, the agronomist and the farmer work together to see what nutrients are there enough of, what are we good with, and what do we need to add to our soil so that those crops grow healthy in the next year. So that's what we're going to do first. We're going to see what's in that soil. Now, there's different things we add on to help that soil maintain health or to get healthier. When we talk about livestock, especially when we talked about pigs, we said that manure, that poop, can be a fertilizer. So there are nutrients that come through that manure that we can add onto the soil, and those can help the crops grow. We can also add other fertilizers, different compounds that farmers can purchase. And then there's another way of doing this called rotating crops. Now, we haven't talked a lot about this either, and I'm not sure I'll get to see you to talk about soybeans, which makes me really sad. So I'm going to give you a little information on those soybeans. When we rotate crops, that means that we rotate one after another different things that we plant. So if you drove by a cornfield in July, you saw that it was growing really tall. You know that that corn is taller than we are. But next summer, if you drive by the same field in Iowa, chances are you're going to see soybeans growing. And then the next year would be corn again, and back and forth. That's what we do when we rotate our crops. Now, the reason behind that is keeping our soil healthy. Those crops need different nutrients to grow, and they have different nutrients that they can add into the soil, especially soybeans. Soybeans are part of the legume family. So believe it or not, they are from the same family as peanuts. And legumes, peanuts, soybeans, alfalfa, those are all things that produce their own nitrogen. So nitrogen is one of those nutrients our soil has to have to grow corn especially. And so we can add in nitrogen, we can add that gas on, okay? Or if you rotate crops and you plant some soybeans there, they're going to add some into your soil for you in a more natural way. So that's part of the reason we rotate crops. Now, back to taking care of our soil. There are other ways we can do this. So rotating crops is something most of our farmers do as a good practice and knowing that they're taking a step to keep their soil healthy. Some farmers don't do this, and there's different reasons for that, and that's okay, but that just means they're doing other things to take care of their soil. One of those is planting what we call a cover crop. So, for example, I know a farmer who lives close by. He has cattle, and he only grows corn. A lot of it is for those cattle. We've talked about that silage that we're going to chop our corn into silage and feed to our cattle. Well, how does he keep his corn growing well if that's the only thing he grows? And he does that by planting a cover crop. So what he does is once he harvests corn, then he plants another crop to cover the soil. He uses oats, but there are different things you can plant. And he plants those oats as a cover crop and another way to keep his soil healthy before he's ready to plant corn again the next spring. But let's talk about some more management that also uses cover crops. So another problem, let's look back at our model of our soil here. Another problem with soil is called erosion. And I'm sure you've heard this word. I even see it on commercials when agronomists are on commercials. But if you don't know what erosion is when soil naturally moves around, okay? So we're looking at this topsoil layer. This is what you'd find if you're playing outside right under the grass. That's topsoil. And that topsoil naturally moves around. Wind catches it. If we have a really rainy spring, it's going to rain and wash it into different directions. But that's a problem. If we're going to plant seeds in this soil, we need it to stay where it started, okay? So there's a few ways that we prevent or stop erosion from happening or try our best to. One of the things we can do is plant a cover crop. So if that crop is planted, that same cover crop that's going to add nutrients to our soil, as those seeds germinate and then grow, those seeds are going to keep the soil in place. It doesn't have as much room to move around. The wind can't get to it as easily if there's a crop holding it down. Okay. Something else we can do, you see farmers who have terraces in their fields. They almost look like I don't know what word I want to use, guys. It's like they're going to go up and then you're going to have kind of a terrace, a ledge. That's kind of the word I'm looking for. And you might see those huge ledges in a field. And farmers have put those there. They weren't there naturally, and usually you can tell that. So a terrace would keep too much of that soil from moving down. If it's raining, it's going to have a natural point where it kind of hits the grass that's growing and it's going to stop. Other things farmers put in are what we call waterways. We used to till crops, and some farmers might still till or break up their soil, but it's not as common as it used to be, because when that topsoil is too loose after you till, the wind can more easily catch that and move it around. So all of these things are things I want you to learn more about. Here's your assignment, guys. This is a magazine called Iowa Ag Today, and it is written for Iowa students. It is written for elementary students, so this is something you and your family can read together. There is a link to this, and you can either print it or read it online. You can even order a pack of these, or your teachers can order these for your classrooms. And in this magazine, there is information about all of those management practices I just talked about. And I promise it's not too much reading. You're going to enjoy this, okay? So I want you to check this out. I want you to read about those different practices that farmers are going to implement, or what are we going to do to manage our soil. After you read that, I want you to make your own model of our soil layers. Okay, we have different layers here, and we focused most on our topsoil, but I want to tell you a little more about what these are. Now, as I'm telling you about this, I want you to be brainstorming how you could make a model of these layers. Okay, mine looks pretty tasty. It looks like something I need to share with someone else and then go take a walk. So you could make one of these, and I'll show you how I did that. You could draw these different layers. You could create them with Legos or different materials you have at your house. I don't want anybody buying things to do this, okay? Please be creative, and I want you to show me your projects. After you make a project, there's directions on our website, and I want you to show me your project. Either send me a picture or tell me about it. If you're not sending pictures, that's okay. And if you email me and let me know what you've done after reading, I will put your name in a drawing for some prizes, and we will get some prizes sent out after we've done a few more of these videos. Okay, let me tell you about these layers. Remember, your job is to think about how you can show me this. So if we start, what's at the bottom is called bedrock. And this is solid rock. If you've talked about Earth's different layers, this is right outside the Earth's crust. So it's a solid layer, okay? Now, my bedrock is an Oreo. It's pretty solid. They break easier than bedrock would though, okay? Next, on top of our bedrock, we have what's called parent material. Now, this takes years to form. When something is weathered, that means it's affected by the rain, the wind over years, and bedrock becomes weathered. So it kind of breaks down, and we have some soil and some rock that's going to break down and form on top of that bedrock. So what I have are some chocolate chips and some butterscotch chips. So I'm going to put those on top of my bedrock. Okay. Now, our next layer is called subsoil. Subsoil is full of minerals, and this is where those roots are really going to take place. Once our plant starts growing, it's germinated, we're going to have some root systems that start to grow in that subsoil, and it's full of minerals to keep everything growing, okay? It moves around a little bit. It's very rich, kind of like chocolate pudding. So I'm going to add some subsoil. I wash my hands. Make sure you're washing your hands. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of spread that out so that it's more of an even layer. Okay, we have our subsoil. Our next layer is our topsoil. This is that stuff I've been talking about. So the topsoil is the top layer that's full of nutrients. This is the part we want to make sure stays healthiest. We want to make sure it doesn't erode, it's not moving around. And this is really helpful for our seeds to germinate. Okay, if we don't have healthy topsoil that's in place, it's going to be hard for those seeds to germinate and to start growing. So what I have are some crushed Oreos, because you've played with topsoil. I'm sure you have. And sometimes you see white flecks in it, some of those different nutrients. It's got more of a texture. It's not as smooth as that subsoil underneath. So I'm going to pour some topsoil in here. Okay, you can see it's a little looser. If a strong wind or, I don't know, someone knocked over my cup, that would be all over. Okay, The last thing that you're familiar with is our organic material, okay? These are plant and animal residues, and they're at various stages, so different stages of decomposition. They're breaking down, and that adds nutrients also, okay? So what I have is some grass, some green coconut. I don't know if anybody else is a coconut fan. I definitely was not until I was older. Okay, so I've got some grass, and it wouldn't be real soil without some worms, so I have a few gummy worms to stick on. Okay. All right. Now, I definitely am going to have to share one of these with my husband. But what I want you to do is I want you to make your own model of our soil layers, and you can see that I have labeled mine. I would like you to do that also. So be creative. Yours does not have to be edible. It does not have to be food. I want to see what you come up with. So everybody head over, read this Iowa Ag Today. The one I've linked is issue 3. It talks about Iowa's natural resources. And after you read that, I want you to create something for me. Maybe you draw. Okay, I think you have time. Maybe you, like I said, get your Legos out. Show me what you can do. I want to see your creativity. And then email me. Okay, email me your project. I miss seeing all of you, but I want to keep sharing. Okay, everyone stay well. Be healthy. Bye.